First Contact and Challenge. The crystalline spires of the newly constructed Galactic Embassy pierced the morning sky like frozen lightning, their surfaces refracting the sunrise into 1,000 prismatic shards. Dr. Lyra Kingston stood at the observation deck, her dark eyes fixed on the approaching Xeraxian vessel. The alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star, its iridescent hull shifting colors with each passing cloud. "They're early," muttered Admiral Thompson beside her. Typical Xeraxian power play. Lyra smoothed her formal diplomatic uniform, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. At 42, she'd spent the last 15 years preparing for this moment, though the Xeraxians didn't know that. To them, she was simply Earth's leading xenobiologist, chosen as humanity's representative for her scientific achievements. They had no idea about her classified military background or the experimental procedures she'd volunteered for during the secret gravity adaptation program. The Xeraxian ship landed with impossible grace, its quantum engines barely disturbing the air. A delegation emerged, led by Princess Nexara, heir to the Xeraxian Empire. The alien royal moved with liquid elegance, her crystalline exoskeleton catching the light like living diamond. 4 arms emerged from her ceremonial robes, each ending in precisely articulated digits that could manipulate matter at the molecular level. Dr. Kingston. Nexara's translator device conveyed her clicking speech into English. "How curious that humanity sends a mere scientist to greet us." Lyra bowed precisely to the protocol-mandated depth. "Your Highness, science is the foundation of human achievement. We believed it fitting." The princess's multifaceted eyes studied Lyra with obvious disdain. "Science. Your species barely understands quantum mechanics. You haven't even achieved routine interstellar travel. Yet we managed to detect your probe ships 3 years ago," Lyra replied pleasantly, "and develop quantum communication to respond to your signals." Nexara's crystalline crown chimed as she tilted her head. "Primitive accomplishments. We've been watching your kind for centuries. You're fragile. Limited. Your biology is barely adapted to your own world, let alone the rigors of galactic civilization." The assembled human delegation tensed, but Lyra maintained her diplomatic smile. "We compensate for our biological limitations with technology and adaptability, Your Highness." Adaptability. Nexara's translator couldn't quite capture the mockery in her clicks and chirps, but her body language made it clear. "Your species can barely handle slight variations in gravity. How can you claim to be our equals?" Here it was, the moment Lyra had been waiting for. "Perhaps a demonstration is in order." Nexara's outer arms spread in a gesture of amused condescension. "What did you have in mind, human?" "A challenge," Lyra said, her voice carrying across the suddenly silent chamber. "Test our adaptability. Set any physical trial you wish. If we fail, Earth will accept protectorate status under the Xeraxian Empire." Admiral Thompson stiffened beside her, but Lyra continued before he could object. "But if we succeed, you'll acknowledge Earth as an equal partner in galactic affairs and support our independent membership in the Galactic Council." Nexara's crystalline features shifted into what Lyra had learned was their equivalent of a predatory smile. "Any challenge. Within reasonable safety parameters," Lyra qualified. "We are fragile, after all." The princess considered for a moment, her inner arms moving in complex patterns that indicated deep thought. "Very well. Since you mention gravity, survive and function normally in 4 times Earth's gravity for 2 standard weeks. No technological assistance allowed, only your own biological adaptation." The human delegation erupted in protests. 4 gravities would crush internal organs, collapse blood vessels, and make even breathing a potentially fatal challenge. Admiral Thompson stepped forward to object, but Lyra raised her hand. "I accept," she said clearly, "on one condition. I will be the sole participant. No other humans will be subjected to the trial." "Lyra." "No," Thompson whispered urgently. "The G-force experiments never went past 3 gravities. This is suicide." She ignored him, keeping her eyes fixed on Nexara. The princess's crown chimed with delight. Accepted. We begin immediately. Though I doubt you'll survive the first day. As the gravity generators powered up, Lyra allowed herself a small smile. The Zyraxians, for all their advanced technology, had made a crucial mistake. They assumed human limitation was the same as human potential. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest strength wasn't our current capabilities, but our ability to push beyond them. The gravity increased, and Lyra felt the crushing weight descend. Her augmented skeleton creaked but held. The experimental nanites in her bloodstream began their work, reinforcing blood vessels and optimizing oxygen delivery. 15 years of classified research and preparation crystallized in this moment. She dropped to one knee, playing up the struggle while her enhanced systems adapted. Around her, both humans and Zyraxians watched with very different expectations. Neither group yet realized that this moment would fundamentally change the balance of power in the galaxy. Through gritted teeth, Lyra looked up at Princess Nexara and smiled. Day 1 begins now, Your Highness. Shall we make this interesting? Hidden strengths. The first 72 hours under 4 times Earth's gravity felt like living in the depths of an ocean made of lead. Every movement required careful calculation, every breath a conscious effort. Dr. Lyra Kingston lay in her reinforced quarters within the Galactic Embassy, monitoring her body's response to the crushing pressure while the Zyraxian observers watched through quantum imaging devices. Your vital signs are deteriorating. Princess Nexara's voice chimed through the communication system, poorly concealing her satisfaction. Perhaps we should end this before you suffer permanent damage. Lyra managed a weak laugh, maintaining her facade of struggle. Concerned for my welfare, Your Highness. How unexpectedly compassionate. The truth was far different from what the monitors showed. The quantum interference field Dr. Reese had designed was working perfectly, feeding false biomedical data to the Zyraxian sensors. Meanwhile, the experimental nanites in Lyra's bloodstream were adapting faster than even her team had predicted. She waited until the observation period ended before activating her secure communication implant. Status report, she subvocalized. Dr. Reese's voice whispered in her inner ear. The cellular reinforcement is proceeding ahead of schedule. Bone density has increased by 30%, and muscle fiber enhancement is at 60% efficiency. But Lyra, we're seeing some unexpected developments. Define unexpected, she murmured, careful to maintain the appearance of sleep for any watching eyes. The nanites aren't just adapting to the gravity. They're evolving. They're making improvements to your nervous system we didn't program. Your neural density is increasing. Synaptic responses are accelerating. Side effects? None that we can detect. It's as if. Reese hesitated. It's as if the extreme conditions have triggered capabilities in the nanites that we never imagined possible. You're not just adapting to the gravity. You're transcending normal human limitations. Lyra processed this information while maintaining her outward appearance of strain. The project had always been a gamble, combining classified military biotech with experimental gravity adaptation procedures. But now it seemed they'd stumbled upon something far more significant. On the 4th day, she began her carefully planned performance. During the morning observation, Lyra struggled to her feet for the first time since the challenge began. The Zyraxian observers clicked in surprise as she took one shaking step, then another. Princess Nexara herself arrived to witness the unexpected development. Impossible, the princess declared, her crystalline form shimmering with agitation. Our models predicted total immobility by this stage. Lyra managed 3 more steps before allowing herself to collapse. Models can be wrong, she gasped, letting exhaustion color her voice. Humans adapt. What she didn't reveal was that walking had become almost effortless. The nanites had restructured her muscle fibers and skeletal system to function more efficiently under high gravity. Each struggling step was a carefully choreographed act. That evening, Admiral Thompson visited her quarters, his expression grave. The Joint Chiefs are concerned. The nanite evolution wasn't part of the plan. If the Xeraxians discover what we've done, they won't, Lyra assured him, doing push-ups in the crushing gravity as they spoke. Their arrogance blinds them. They're so convinced of our weakness that they're not looking for deception. And if the changes become permanent? Lyra paused mid-push-up, considering. The nanites had already altered her far beyond their original programming. Her strength and reflexes had increased exponentially. Her neural processing speed had doubled. Even her sensory perception had sharpened to superhuman levels. Then humanity gets a head start on the next stage of evolution, she said finally. We knew this project would change me. We just didn't know how much. Thompson shook his head. The diplomatic implications alone. If they discover we've been developing this technology in secret, they won't, Lyra repeated firmly. And by the time they realize what humanity is truly capable of, it'll be too late to matter. We'll have our seat at the Galactic Council, and they'll have to accept us as equals. After Thompson left, Lyra received another secure transmission from Dr. Reese. We've decoded more of the Xeraxian data we intercepted. Their species evolved in a high-gravity environment, which is why they developed their crystalline exoskeletons. They literally cannot imagine soft tissue beings like us adapting to such conditions. It's their biggest blind spot. Lyra smiled in the darkness. And our biggest advantage. Keep monitoring the nanite evolution. I want to know immediately if anything changes. She stood easily in the crushing gravity, walking to the observation window. Beyond the embassy's quantum-shielded walls, Earth's lights twinkled like fallen stars. Somewhere up there, the Xeraxian fleet waited, expecting this challenge to prove human inferiority once and for all. Instead, they had unknowingly given humanity exactly what it needed, the opportunity to reveal its hidden strength, not through the brute force they respected, but through the adaptability they dismissed. As she watched, Lyra's enhanced vision caught a shimmer of movement. Princess Nexera herself was observing from a cloaked platform, probably hoping to witness signs of deterioration. Instead, she would see exactly what Lyra wanted her to see. A human struggling but persevering, pushing against impossible odds. The truth could wait until victory was assured. By then, the galaxy would have to acknowledge that humanity's greatest weapon was never our technology or our physical strength, but our infinite capacity for transformation. Pleasant dreams, Your Highness, Lyra whispered to the hidden observer. Tomorrow, I might even try running. The turning point. 1 week into the challenge, Lyra made her first calculated mistake. During her daily exercise routine, closely monitored by the Xeraxian observers, she accidentally moved too quickly, a sharp, precise movement that should have been impossible under 4 times Earth's gravity. Princess Nexera's reaction was immediate. The royal hair burst into the observation chamber, her crystalline form vibrating with barely contained agitation. Stop the recording, she commanded her attendants. Clear the room. Everyone out. Once they were alone, Nexera's multifaceted eyes fixed on Lyra with new intensity. What are you? Lyra met the princess's gaze steadily, dropping the pretense of strain she'd maintained for the past week. She stood straight in the crushing gravity, her movements fluid and controlled. I am human, Your Highness. Nothing more, nothing less. Impossible. The gravitational pressure alone should have crushed me, collapsed my internal organs, rendered me immobile. Lyra smiled. Your models were based on old data, Your Highness. Humanity has evolved. The princess's outer arms moved in complex patterns indicating deep thought and agitation. No species can adapt this quickly, unless her crystalline features shifted as realization dawned. You were prepared for this challenge. You knew what I would demand. We've been studying your species for years, Lyra admitted. Your cultural records, your biological data, your psychological profiles. We knew you'd underestimate us. You always do. You deceived us, Nexera accused, her translator struggling to convey the complex harmonics of her anger. No more than you deceived us, Lyra countered. Did you think we wouldn't discover the true purpose of your diplomatic mission? The fleet you have waiting beyond Mars. The invasion plans disguised as cultural exchange protocols. The princess went perfectly still, a reaction Lyra had learned indicated surprise in Xeraxians. How did you? The same way we developed the ability to adapt to your gravity challenge. Through patience, observation, and the thing your species consistently undervalues, human ingenuity. Lyra walked closer to the princess, her movements deliberately smooth and controlled. But here's what you haven't figured out yet, Your Highness. This demonstration isn't just about proving we can match your physical capabilities. It's about showing you what happens when you back humanity into a corner. She held up her hand, letting Nexera see the subtle shimmer beneath her skin where the nanites work their transformative magic. Every second under this gravity makes us stronger. Every challenge you present becomes an opportunity for advancement. We're not just adapting to survive, we're evolving to thrive. The princess's crown chimed discordantly. The council will never accept this level of biological manipulation. It violates nothing. Lyra interrupted. Check your own laws. There are no restrictions on natural adaptation to environmental pressures. And that's all this is, natural human adaptation, accelerated by our understanding of our own biology. A new sound filled the chamber, the harmonic resonance of Xeraxian laughter. You're more interesting than I expected, Dr. Kingston, Nexera said. But you've overlooked something crucial. Now that we know of your capabilities, what prevents us from simply taking this technology by force? Lyra's smile widened. The same thing that's preventing your surveillance systems from transmitting this conversation to your ship. The same technology that's currently infiltrating your fleet's quantum networks. We didn't just prepare for your gravity challenge, Your Highness. We prepared for war. She watched understanding dawn in the princess's crystalline features. While you were focused on this test of physical prowess, our real work was happening behind the scenes. Your ships are already compromised. Your supposedly secure communications have been decoded. We know every move you plan to make. You're bluffing, Nexera declared, but uncertainty had crept into her harmonic patterns. Lyra pulled up a holographic display, showing real-time data from the Xeraxian fleet. Shall I demonstrate? Perhaps by deactivating the artificial gravity on your flagship. Or would you prefer I reveal the contents of your private communications with the Imperial Council? For the first time, she saw fear in the princess's multifaceted eyes. What do you want? Exactly what we asked for at the beginning. Recognition of Earth as an equal partner in galactic affairs, a seat on the Council, and a complete withdrawal of your fleet from our solar system. Nexera's outer arms moved in a gesture of reluctant acquiescence. And if we refuse, then we reveal everything. Your invasion plans, your violations of galactic law, and most importantly, the fact that your supposedly superior species was outmaneuvered by primitive humans. How long do you think the Empire would last once the other races realize you're not as invincible as you claim? The princess was silent for a long moment, her crystalline form refracting the room's light in complex patterns. Finally, she spoke. You engineered this entire confrontation, didn't you? The challenge, the demonstration, everything. Let's call it a collaborative effort, Lyra replied diplomatically. You provided the opportunity. We simply made the most of it. Power shift. The next 48 hours transformed the Galactic Embassy into a storm center of diplomatic activity. Quantum communications buzzed between Earth and the Xeraxian homeworld as the Imperial Council grappled with their new reality. Princess Nexera, having shed her attitude of superiority, now worked alongside Lyra to prevent the situation from escalating into interspecies war. Your timing was perfect, Nexera admitted during a private meeting in the embassy's secure chamber. Her crystalline form had taken on a subtle blue tint, which Lyra's enhanced vision recognized as a sign of respect in Xeraxian physiology. Another month, and our invasion fleet would have been twice the size. We know, Lyra replied, casually doing one-handed push-ups in the four-gravity environment. That's why we forced the issue now. Though I must admit, your choice of a gravity challenge exceeded our expectations. It gave us the perfect cover to demonstrate our capabilities without revealing our full hand. The princess's outer arms moved in a gesture of rueful acknowledgement. You implied you could shut down our fleet's gravity systems. Was that true? Would you like a demonstration? Lyra smiled as Nexara's crystal lattice structure tightened defensively. I thought not. Let's just say that humanity's gifts extend far beyond physical adaptation. Admiral Thompson entered the chamber, his tablet displaying a cascade of incoming reports. The Imperial Council has agreed to emergency sessions. They're demanding explanations. Of course they are. Nexara's translator conveyed her clicking laughter. Their entire worldview has been shattered. The species they dismissed as barely sentient has outmaneuvered their finest strategists. Lyra stood, her movements graceful despite the crushing gravity. The nanites had continued their work, pushing her evolution far beyond the original projections. Her neural processing speed had tripled, and her physical capabilities now matched or exceeded those of the Xeraxians themselves. Dr. Reese reports that the nanite adaptations have stabilized. Thompson added, his expression concerned. But the changes are permanent. You'll never be able to return to normal human baseline. Define normal, Lyra challenged. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to transcend our limitations. I'm just the first wave. She turned to Nexara, which brings us to our next point of negotiation. The princess's antennae quivered. There's more. We want access to the Imperial Academy, not just as students, but as teachers. Your species has much to learn about adaptation and innovation. In return, we'll share our insights into biological enhancement and quantum integration. The conservative factions will resist, Nexara warned. They'll see it as a dilution of Xeraxian superiority. Their superiority was an illusion, Lyra countered. One we thoroughly dispelled. Now they have a choice, evolve with us or be left behind. A subtle harmonic resonated from Nexara's crystalline form, a sound Lyra had never heard before. You're enjoying this, aren't you? The princess observed. Not just the victory, but the way it forces us to reevaluate everything we believed about ourselves and the galaxy. Enlightenment is often uncomfortable, Lyra acknowledged, but necessary for growth. Your species has been stagnant for millennia, relying on your natural advantages rather than pushing beyond them. Perhaps this wake-up call is exactly what you needed. Admiral Thompson cleared his throat. The Council is waiting for our response. They want to know how many other humans have been enhanced. Lyra exchanged a knowing look with Nexara. Tell them the truth. I'm unique. For now. But make it clear that my capabilities represent humanity's potential, not its limit. And the invasion fleet? Nexara asked quietly. Will return home, Lyra stated firmly, but not in disgrace. Instead, they'll escort the first delegation of human scientists and diplomats to the imperial capital. A gesture of cooperation rather than surrender. The princess's crown chimed thoughtfully. You're offering us a way to save face while completely restructuring the balance of power. Clever. We're offering you partnership, Lyra corrected. Real partnership, not the facade of equality masking subjugation that you originally planned. Humanity's rise doesn't require Xeraxian fall. She walked to the observation window, where Earth's sun painted the crystalline spires in shades of gold and amber. The galaxy is vast, Your Highness, full of challenges that neither of our species can face alone. Together, combining your stability with our adaptability, we could achieve things neither of us can imagine. Nexara moved to stand beside her, their reflections merging in the transparent crystal. You truly believe that, don't you? That we're stronger together than apart. I believe, Lyra said softly, that the greatest victories don't come from domination, but from transformation. You tried to prove our weakness. Instead, you helped us demonstrate our greatest strength, the ability to turn any challenge into an opportunity for growth. The princess was quiet for a long moment, her crystalline form refracting the sunlight into rainbow patterns across the chamber. "The Council is waiting," she finally said. "Shall we rewrite the future of our species together?" Lyra smiled, extending her hand in the human gesture of partnership. After a moment's hesitation, Nexera extended one of her upper arms, crystal touching flesh in a gesture that would soon become iconic across the galaxy. "Together," Lyra agreed. "But first, I believe I still have 3 days left in your gravity challenge. How about we make them really interesting?" The final days of the gravity challenge transformed into something unprecedented in galactic history. Instead of a test of human endurance, it became a demonstration of interspecies cooperation. Princess Nexera joined Lyra in the high-gravity chamber, their species differences highlighted and bridged as they moved through the crushing pressure together. "Your crystalline structure," Lyra observed, watching how Nexera's exoskeleton refracted light differently under the intense gravitational stress. "It's not just armor, is it? It's a quantum computational matrix." The princess's crown chimed in appreciation. "Just as your nanites aren't merely biological enhancers, they're bridges between organic and quantum states." She paused, her multifaceted eyes studying Lyra's movements. "You're still adapting, aren't you? Even now?" "Evolution never stops," Lyra confirmed. "The nanites continue to optimize my systems. Dr. Reese's latest scans show changes we never thought possible. Neural pathways operating at quantum levels, cellular regeneration approaching theoretical limits. I'm becoming something new." "We all are," Nexera replied, her translator conveying unusual warmth. "The Imperial Council's latest directive proves it. They've approved the establishment of a joint evolution initiative, your scientists working alongside ours, exploring the boundaries between biological and quantum existence." The chamber's viewing gallery had filled with observers from both species. Human diplomats stood shoulder to shoulder with Xeraxian nobles, watching their representatives demonstrate what cooperation could achieve. Admiral Thompson entered, his expression a mixture of pride and concern. "The first wave of enhancement volunteers has been approved," he announced. 300 humans, 300 Xeraxians, all willing to undergo the transformation process. The galaxy's first truly hybrid research team. Lyra performed a series of acrobatic maneuvers that would have been impossible for any unenhanced human, her movements fluid and precise under the four-gravity field. "And the military implications? Both sides have agreed to mutual oversight," Thompson replied. "No species can develop combat applications without the other's knowledge and consent. We're calling it the Convergence Protocol." Nexera's crystalline form shifted into a pattern Lyra now recognized as thoughtful amusement. "My ancestors would be horrified, sharing our quantum secrets with lesser beings. Yet here we are, discovering that our differences contain the seeds of our greatest advancements. That's always been humanity's secret," Lyra said, executing a perfect handstand. "We don't overcome our limitations. We embrace them, learn from them, and transform them into strengths. Now we're teaching you to do the same." The princess moved closer, her crystal lattice resonating at frequencies that made the nanites in Lyra's bloodstream hum in harmony. "You knew this would happen, didn't you? From the moment I issued the challenge, you saw the potential for something greater than simple survival or dominance." "I hoped," Lyra admitted. "The gravity chamber gave us the perfect controlled environment to demonstrate not just human capability, but human potential. To show that adaptation isn't just about surviving harsh conditions, it's about transcending them." A soft chime signaled the completion of the 2-week challenge. The gravity field began to decrease, but Lyra raised her hand. "Leave it," she commanded. "This is our new normal now. A reminder that barriers exist to be overcome, and challenges exist to be transformed." Admiral Thompson consulted his tablet. "The Galactic Council session begins in 1 hour. They're expecting a full demonstration of human capabilities." Lyra and Nexera exchanged knowing looks. "Let's give them something more," the princess suggested. "A demonstration of what our species can achieve together." A preview of the future, Lyra agreed. She turned to the assembled observers. The gravity challenge was never about proving human worth or Xeraxian superiority. It was about showing the galaxy that evolution isn't a solitary journey. True advancement comes when different species push each other to exceed their limitations, to become more than they ever imagined possible. The chamber filled with a harmonic resonance as Xeraxian observers chimed their agreement, while humans applauded. The sound blended into something new. Neither human nor alien, but a symphony of possibility. Ready to make history? Lyra asked, extending her hand to Nexara once again. The princess's crystalline form shimmered with anticipation. Together, she agreed, taking Lyra's hand. Let's show them what the future looks like. As they prepared for their presentation to the Galactic Council, Lyra reflected on how far they'd come. What had begun as a test of survival had evolved into something far more profound. A blueprint for interspecies cooperation, a path to shared evolution, and a promise of endless possibilities. The gravity chamber remained at 4 times Earth normal, no longer a challenge but a symbol. Within its crushing pressure, 2 species had learned to see beyond their differences, beyond their prejudices, beyond their assumed limitations. They had discovered that true strength lies not in domination or resistance, but in the willingness to transform, to adapt, and to grow together. As Lyra and Nexara moved through their synchronized demonstration, their forms merging and separating in the heightened gravity, they wrote the first chapter of a new galactic era, one where humanity's greatest gift, the ability to turn adversity into advancement, would help reshape the very foundations of civilization. The challenge was over, but the real journey was just beginning.